The Council's big mistake. The Galactic Council was a powerful alliance of many advanced alien civilizations. They ruled over countless star systems and planets, making decisions that affected billions of lives. For a long time, they had kept the galaxy in order, ensuring that no single race became too powerful. They believed in their own superiority and thought they understood everything about the universe. However, they were about to make a mistake that would change everything. Far away from the Council's core worlds was a small blue planet called Earth. To the Council, Earth was just another primitive world, inhabited by a species they considered to be barely out of the Stone Age. Humans. The Council didn't see humans as a threat. They didn't think humans were capable of anything significant. In their eyes, Earth was just a planet full of resources waiting to be exploited. When a new energy source was discovered in Earth's solar system, the Council didn't hesitate. They quickly sent a small fleet of warships to claim it. The Council didn't even bother to send diplomats or to warn the humans. They assumed that the humans would either surrender or be easily defeated. After all, how could a primitive species like humans stand against the mighty Galactic Council? As the Council's fleet approached Earth, the commanders on board were relaxed. They expected this mission to be easy, just another routine operation. They had done this many times before on other planets with less advanced civilizations. The fleet was led by Commander Zorath, a seasoned officer who had served the Council for decades. He had faced many enemies and won many battles, but none of those enemies had been human. On Earth, life went on as usual. People went to work, children played in parks, and governments operated as they always did. But soon, strange signals began to be picked up by Earth's defense systems. These signals were unlike anything the humans had seen before. Military officials were alerted, and soon the whole world knew that something big was happening. As the alien fleet moved closer, Earth's leaders scrambled to respond. They didn't know who was coming, but they knew that the intentions couldn't be good. The United Nations, which had long been a symbol of global cooperation, now became the center of Earth's defense efforts. World leaders gathered in an emergency meeting, and it was decided that Earth's military forces would unite under one command. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council's fleet entered Earth's orbit. They sent a simple message to the planet below: surrender or be destroyed. The message was brief and cold, reflecting the Council's confidence in their power. They expected Earth's leaders to immediately bow down and offer their resources without a fight. But Earth did not surrender. Instead, humanity prepared for battle. In a matter of hours, Earth's military forces were mobilized. Fighter jets took to the skies, naval ships positioned themselves in strategic locations, and ground troops were placed on high alert. Earth scientists and engineers worked frantically to enhance their technology, using every resource available to prepare for the coming storm. The Galactic Council was surprised by the speed of Earth's response, but they still didn't take the humans seriously. They assumed that their advanced technology would make quick work of Earth's defenses. Commander Zorath ordered his ships to attack, expecting the battle to be over in minutes. The first wave of Council ships descended into Earth's atmosphere, targeting key military installations. But as they began their assault, they were met with fierce resistance. Earth's air defense systems, though less advanced, were highly effective. Missiles and laser beams shot through the sky, striking the alien ships with precision. The Council's fleet was taken aback. They had not expected such a strong defense from a planet they considered primitive. In space, Earth's newly developed space forces engaged the Council's ships in close combat. Human pilots, using a combination of skill and bravery, managed to outmaneuver the alien ships. They exploited weaknesses in the Council's tactics, launching surprise attacks that caused significant damage. The Council's ships, designed for large-scale battles, were not prepared for the hit-and-run tactics used by the human forces. As the battle raged on, it became clear that Earth was not going to fall easily. The Galactic Council's fleet began to suffer losses, something that had never happened in previous campaigns against less advanced species. Commander Zorath, once confident in his victory, now faced a situation he had never encountered before: defeat at the hands of a primitive species. The Council's big mistake was underestimating humanity. They had assumed that Earth would be an easy target, but they were wrong. The humans were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for their home, their families, and their future. Their determination, combined with their ability to quickly adapt and innovate, made them a formidable opponent. As the battle continued, news of the conflict spread across the galaxy. Other civilizations watched in shock as the Galactic Council, the most powerful force in the galaxy, struggled against a planet they had deemed insignificant. The Council had made a mistake, and now they were paying the price. In the end, the first battle for Earth ended in a stalemate. The Galactic Council's fleet, battered and bruised, retreated to regroup. Earth had survived the initial attack, but the war was far from over. Humanity had shown that they were not to be underestimated, and the Galactic Council realized that they had a real fight on their hands. Earth's strong defense. The Galactic Council had never expected Earth to fight back so fiercely. After their first attack was repelled, the Council's leaders were both shocked and angry. They couldn't understand how a species they considered primitive had managed to hold their ground against the most powerful military force in the galaxy. But the Council was not ready to give up. They decided to launch a much larger and more coordinated attack, believing that this time Earth would surely fall. On Earth, the situation was tense but hopeful. The victory in the first battle had given humanity a newfound sense of confidence. The people of Earth knew they were facing a powerful enemy, but they also knew that they could win if they stood together. Governments around the world continued to cooperate closely, sharing resources and information to strengthen their defenses. Earth's military leaders quickly realized that the next attack would be much bigger and more dangerous. They knew that they couldn't just rely on the same tactics that had worked in the first battle. They needed to think creatively and prepare for every possible scenario. The United Nations, which had become the central command for Earth's defense, called upon the best minds from around the globe to develop new strategies and technologies. One of the first steps taken was to improve Earth's air and space defenses. The engineers worked tirelessly to upgrade the missile systems, making them faster and more accurate. They also developed new laser weapons that could target enemy ships with pinpoint precision. The goal was to make it as difficult as possible for the alien ships to reach the surface of the planet. At the same time, Earth's scientists were working on a secret project that could change the course of the war. They had discovered a way to jam the communication signals used by the Galactic Council's ships. If successful, this technology would disrupt the coordination of the alien fleet, making it harder for them to execute their attack plans. The project was risky and untested, but it offered a glimmer of hope in a desperate situation. As the alien fleet began its approach, Earth's military forces were on high alert. The skies were filled with fighter jets and drones patrolling day and night to spot any incoming threats. On the ground, soldiers were stationed at key locations, ready to defend against any landing attempts. The atmosphere was tense, but there was also a sense of determination among the defenders. They knew what was at stake, and they were prepared to fight for their planet. When the Galactic Council's fleet finally arrived, it was much larger than the first one. Thousands of ships filled the sky, casting a dark shadow over the Earth. The alien ships were sleek and advanced, equipped with the latest in deadly weaponry. But Earth was ready. The battle began with a massive exchange of firepower. Missiles and lasers lit up the sky as Earth's defenses opened up with everything they had. The alien ships tried to break through Earth's defenses, but they were met with fierce resistance. The upgraded missile systems proved to be highly effective, taking down many enemy ships before they could get close. The new laser weapons also performed well, targeting the alien ships' weak spots and causing devastating damage. The sky was filled with explosions as ships from both sides were destroyed, but the battle was far from over. The Galactic Council's ships were highly advanced and well coordinated. They adapted quickly to Earth's defenses. As the battle raged on, Earth's secret weapon was finally deployed. The jamming technology, which had been developed in secret, was activated. Almost immediately, the alien fleet began to experience problems. Their communication systems were disrupted, causing confusion and chaos among their ranks. Ships started to lose coordination, making them easier targets for Earth's defenses. The tide of the battle began to turn in humanity's favor. Realizing that their attack was faltering, the commanders of the Galactic Council's fleet decided to change tactics. They ordered their ships to focus on specific targets, hoping to overwhelm Earth's defenses with concentrated firepower. But Earth's military leaders were ready for this. They had anticipated that the enemy might try something like this, and they had prepared countermeasures. Earth's forces used their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. They led the alien ships into traps where they were surrounded and destroyed. Fighter jets and drones worked together to confuse and outmaneuver the enemy. The battle became a game of strategy, with each side trying to outthink the other. But Earth had the home field advantage, and it showed. Despite their best efforts, the Galactic Council's fleet was unable to break through Earth's defenses. The battle dragged on for hours, with neither side willing to give up. But as time went on, it became clear that Earth was winning. The alien ships were being destroyed faster than they could be replaced, and their forces were becoming more disorganized. In the end, the Galactic Council's fleet was forced to retreat. The battle had been a disaster for them, and they knew it. They had underestimated humanity once again, and now they were paying the price. Earth had shown that it was not only capable of defending itself, but also of defeating one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. As the alien ships fled back into space, the people of Earth cheered. They had faced a seemingly unstoppable enemy and had emerged victorious. But they also knew that this was only the beginning. The Galactic Council would not give up so easily, and the war was far from over. Earth would need to continue to strengthen its defenses and prepare for whatever came next. But for now, they could celebrate their victory and take pride in their strength and resilience. The Council strikes harder. The Galactic Council was humiliated by their defeat at Earth's hands. They had underestimated the humans, and now they were paying the price. The Council's leaders were furious, and they knew they couldn't afford to lose again. They decided to launch a much bigger and more devastating attack, one that would crush Earth's defenses and show the entire galaxy the true power of the Galactic Council. In their secret chambers, the Council's most powerful members gathered to discuss their next move. They knew that Earth's defenses had improved rapidly, so they would need to use every weapon at their disposal to break through. They decided to send their most advanced warships, equipped with weapons capable of destroying entire cities in seconds. They also planned to use psychological warfare, aiming to break the spirit of humanity before launching their final assault. Meanwhile, on Earth, the mood was tense. The victory in the second battle had given people hope, but they knew that the war was far from over. Earth's leaders were aware that the Council would strike back, and they were determined to be ready. The United Nations, now the central command for Earth's defense, continued to work around the clock to strengthen their forces and prepare for the inevitable attack. Earth's scientists and engineers were once again called upon to develop new technologies to defend the planet. They worked tirelessly, pushing the limits of human knowledge and innovation. One of their most ambitious projects was the development of a new type of energy shield that could protect cities from even the most powerful attacks. This shield, if successful, could mean the difference between victory and defeat. As the Council's fleet prepared for its assault, they sent out a series of messages to Earth. These messages were designed to spread fear and panic among the population. The Council's leaders believed that if they could demoralize the humans, the battle would be easier to win. The messages spoke of the Council's power, warning Earth that resistance was futile and that total destruction was imminent. But the people of Earth were not so easily shaken. They had already faced the Council's wrath and survived. The messages only served to strengthen their resolve. Across the planet, people came together to support the war effort. Factories worked around the clock to produce weapons and supplies, while volunteers joined the military to defend their homeland. The spirit of unity and determination was stronger than ever. When the Council's fleet finally arrived, it was a sight to behold. The sky was filled with massive warships, each one bristling with weapons. These ships were the pride of the Galactic Council's military, and they had never been defeated in battle. The fleet was led by Admiral Vraxis, one of the Council's most experienced and ruthless commanders. He had been given one mission: to destroy Earth and leave no survivors. The battle began with a ferocity that had never been seen before. The Council's warships unleashed their full might, raining down destruction on Earth's defenses. Entire cities were targeted, with powerful energy beams cutting through buildings and infrastructure like a knife through butter. The new energy shields developed by Earth's scientists were put to the test, and while they held up against some attacks, they couldn't stop everything. Despite the overwhelming power of the Council's fleet, Earth's defenders fought back with everything they had. The skies were filled with fighter jets and drones, launching counterattacks against the alien ships. Ground forces used advanced missile systems to target the Council's warships, trying to bring them down before they could cause more damage. The battle was intense, with both sides suffering heavy losses. Admiral Vraxis watched the battle from the bridge of his flagship. He was impressed by the humans' resilience, but remained confident that victory was within reach. He ordered his ships to concentrate their fire on Earth's major cities, hoping to break the humans' will to fight. Massive explosions rocked the planet as the Council's warships unleashed their most powerful weapons. The devastation was immense, and millions of lives were lost in an instant. But even in the face of such destruction, Earth's defenders refused to give up. They knew that if they lost this battle, their entire planet would be destroyed. The people of Earth had nowhere else to go, and they were determined to fight to the last breath. Across the world, military forces continued to launch daring attacks against the Council's fleet, targeting weak points and using every trick they had learned in the previous battles. As the battle raged on, Earth's scientists made a breakthrough. They discovered a way to amplify the power of their energy shields, making them much more effective against the Council's weapons. With this new technology, they were able to protect some of the most important cities from total destruction. This gave Earth's defenders a much-needed boost, allowing them to focus on taking down the enemy ships. Admiral Vraxis, realizing that his plan was not working as expected, decided to change tactics. He ordered his ships to spread out and attack from multiple angles, hoping to overwhelm Earth's defenses. But this move played right into the humans' hands. Earth's military had prepared for such a scenario and quickly adapted their strategy. They used the terrain and their knowledge of the planet to their advantage, launching surprise attacks that caught the Council's ships off guard. The battle continued for hours, with neither side willing to back down. The Council's fleet was taking heavy losses, but they kept fighting with the same relentless determination. Earth's defenders, though battered and bruised, were still holding their ground. The people of Earth watched in horror as their cities burned, but they also saw the courage and bravery of those who fought to protect them. In the end, the Council's fleet was forced to retreat once again. Admiral Vraxis, though enraged by his failure, knew that continuing the battle would only lead to more losses. The humans had once again proven themselves to be a formidable enemy, one that could not be easily defeated. As the alien ships fled back into space, the people of Earth began to rebuild, knowing that the war was far from over. But they also knew that they had won another important victory. The Galactic Council had struck harder than ever before, but Earth had survived. And in surviving, humanity had shown that they were not just defending their planet, they were defending their right to exist. The battle had been a turning point, one that would shape the future of the war and the galaxy itself. Earth's surprise attack. The Galactic Council's recent attack had left Earth battered and bruised, but not broken. As the smoke cleared, Earth's leaders knew that they needed to take the fight to the enemy. They couldn't just wait for the next attack, they had to strike. In the war room deep underground, Earth's top military minds gathered to plan their next move. General Thompson, a seasoned leader who had already proven his worth in the previous battles, was chosen to lead the mission. He knew the risks were high, but so were the stakes. Earth couldn't afford another defensive war. They needed to go on the offensive. The plan was daring. Earth's forces would launch a surprise attack on one of the Galactic Council's key outposts, a heavily fortified space station that served as a central command and supply hub. If they could destroy or disable it, they would deal a major blow to the Council's war efforts. The station was far from Earth, located in a region of space controlled by the Council, but Earth's new long-range ships and advanced cloaking technology gave them a fighting chance. The preparations were intense. Scientists and engineers worked day and night to ready the fleet. The new ships, equipped with the latest stealth technology, were built to be undetectable by the Council's sensors. The crews were hand-picked from the best of Earth's military forces, each one trained for this exact kind of mission. They knew that this could be a one-way trip, but none of them hesitated. They were fighting for the survival of their planet. Finally, the day of the mission arrived. The fleet, led by General Thompson, silently slipped away from Earth's orbit, their presence hidden by the advanced cloaking systems. The journey to the Council's outpost was long and dangerous. The fleet had to navigate through hostile territory, avoiding patrols and surveillance systems. But thanks to their cloaking devices and expert piloting, they managed to stay undetected. As they approached the target, the tension on board the ships was palpable. The outpost was massive, heavily armed, and well defended. But Earth's forces were ready. General Thompson gave the order to engage, and the fleet suddenly appeared out of nowhere, catching the Council's forces completely off guard. The surprise was total. The Council's ships and defense systems were thrown into chaos as Earth's fleet launched a coordinated assault. Missiles and energy weapons fired in all directions, hitting key targets and causing massive explosions. The space station's shields, designed to withstand prolonged attacks, were overwhelmed by the concentrated firepower of Earth's ships. Within minutes, the station was severely damaged, its systems failing one by one. Inside the outpost, the Council's commanders scrambled to respond, but it was too late. Earth's forces had the upper hand. Special operations teams, trained for infiltration and sabotage, boarded the station and took control of critical systems. They planted explosives in key areas and hacked into the station's mainframe, causing even more damage. The Council's soldiers fought back, but they were outmatched and outmaneuvered at every turn. General Thompson watched the battle unfold from his command ship. Everything was going according to plan, but he knew they couldn't stay long. The Council would soon send reinforcements, and Earth's fleet couldn't hold out against a full-scale counterattack. He gave the order to begin the final phase of the mission, the complete destruction of the outpost. As the explosives detonated and the station's core began to overload, Earth's fleet prepared to make their escape. The explosions rocked the outpost, tearing it apart from the inside. The Council's forces were in disarray, unable to stop the destruction. The outpost, once a symbol of the Council's power, was now a burning wreck. Earth's fleet, having completed their mission, quickly retreated. They used their cloaking devices to disappear into the void, leaving the Council's forces in confusion and chaos. The mission had been a success. Earth had struck a devastating blow to the Galactic Council, and they had done it on their own terms. Back on Earth, the news of the successful attack spread quickly. The people, still recovering from the Council's previous assault, were filled with a renewed sense of hope and determination. They had proven that they could not only defend themselves, but also take the fight to the enemy. The message was clear: Earth would not be conquered. As the fleet returned home, General Thompson knew that the war was far from over. The Council would be furious, and they would undoubtedly strike back with even greater force. But he also knew that Earth had something the Council could never understand: an unbreakable spirit and the will to fight for their survival, no matter the odds. The battle had shown the galaxy that humans were not just a primitive species waiting to be conquered. They were warriors, strategists, and survivors. The Galactic Council, for all its power and technology, had underestimated the one thing that made humanity truly dangerous: their determination to live free. The Council's last hope. The destruction of the Galactic Council's outpost sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Council had never faced such a humiliating defeat. Their once unchallenged authority was now in question. Panic began to spread among the member races, each wondering if their homeworlds might be next. The Council's leaders, usually so composed and confident, were now deeply worried. They knew they had to act quickly, or they would lose control of the entire galaxy. In a grand chamber on the Council's homeworld, the leaders of the most powerful races gathered. The atmosphere was tense. For the first time, the Council was genuinely afraid. They had underestimated Earth, and now they were paying the price. Something had to be done, and fast. The Council's supreme commander, a towering alien with a reputation for ruthlessness, stood before the assembly. He had led countless campaigns, crushing rebellions and conquering planets. But now even he seemed shaken. "We cannot afford another defeat like the one at Outpost Omega," he began, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Earth has proven to be more than just a minor nuisance. They are a serious threat. If we do not eliminate them now, they will destroy us all." The Council members murmured in agreement. They knew he was right, but they also knew that a direct attack had failed before. The humans were cunning and resourceful, and their technology was advancing rapidly. The Supreme Commander's plan had to be flawless. One of the Council's top strategists, an ancient being with centuries of experience, stepped forward. He had spent the last few days studying the humans, analyzing their strengths and weaknesses. The humans fight with passion, something we have not seen in a long time. But passion alone will not save them. They are still limited by their resources and numbers. If we strike at their most vital points, we can weaken them enough to end this conflict. The final showdown. The galaxy held its breath as the conflict between Earth and the Galactic Council reached a critical point. Both sides had endured devastating losses, and the stakes were higher than ever. The Council's leaders had made their final preparations, and Earth's defenders were bracing for what they knew would be the decisive battle of the war. On Earth, the mood was a mix of anxiety and determination. After their recent victories, the people had hope, but they also understood the gravity of the situation. The Galactic Council had mobilized its entire fleet, and this time, they weren't holding back. Earth's leaders gathered in the Central Command, where General Thompson, still the head of the defense efforts, reviewed the latest intelligence reports. "The Council is assembling their fleet in a massive armada," General Thompson said, his voice steady but serious. "They're coming with everything they've got. We need to be ready for their full-scale assault." The commanders around him nodded, their faces grim but resolute. The strategy was clear. Earth would have to use every resource at its disposal to repel the invasion. The defense plans included deploying the latest technology and weapons, as well as rallying every available soldier and fighter. It was all or nothing. Meanwhile, in the heart of the Galactic Council's fleet, Supreme Commander Zelthor watched the final preparations with a sense of grim satisfaction. The Council's last hope was a massive, coordinated strike aimed directly at Earth's most critical military and industrial centers. If they could cripple Earth's ability to fight back, the war would be over. The Council's forces were equipped with the most advanced weaponry they had ever deployed, and they were ready to unleash it in a single devastating blow. As the Council's fleet moved into position, Earth's defense systems were activated. The sky above the planet was soon filled with an array of spacecraft, from the sleek, fast fighters to the massive, heavily armed capital ships. The energy shields surrounding key cities and military bases hummed with power, and the atmosphere buzzed with activity as troops and equipment were readied for the impending onslaught. The first wave of the Council's attack came like a tidal wave. The fleet emerged from hyperspace with terrifying speed and precision. The initial barrage of energy beams and missiles struck Earth's defenses with brutal force. Cities that had been rebuilt after previous attacks were once again targeted, and the world seemed to tremble under the weight of the assault. General Thompson's command center was a hive of activity as the battle began. "Deploy all available fighters and interceptors," he ordered. "Activate the planetary defense grids and prepare to counterattack." Earth's forces responded with fierce determination. Fighters soared into the sky, engaging the Council's ships in intense dogfights. Ground-based missile systems launched retaliatory strikes, targeting the incoming enemy vessels. The energy shields, though strained, held firm against the initial barrage, giving Earth's defenders a crucial advantage. But the Council's attack was relentless. Massive warships, armed with planet-destroying weapons, targeted Earth's most important military installations. The air was filled with the sound of explosions and the blinding light of energy weapons. The fight was fierce, and both sides suffered heavy casualties. In the midst of the chaos, General Thompson coordinated the defense from his command ship, analyzing the battle in real time. He knew that holding out against the Council's overwhelming force would be difficult, but he also knew that Earth's resilience and ingenuity could turn the tide. He watched as his forces engaged the enemy, their tactics becoming increasingly sophisticated as they adapted to the Council's strategies. The turning point came when Earth's engineers deployed a new type of weapon, developed in secret and tested just before the battle. These weapons were designed to disrupt the Council's energy shields and critical systems. As they were unleashed, the tide of the battle began to shift. The Council's warships, already battered from the ongoing fight, were hit with a new wave of attacks that began to weaken their defenses. Supreme Commander Zelthor, witnessing the unexpected turn of events, grew increasingly frustrated. "Reinforcements! Send in the reserve fleet and deploy all remaining assets," he commanded. "We cannot let them win." Despite the Council's efforts to regroup and reinforce their positions, Earth's forces pressed their advantage. The battle continued to rage across the skies, with each side pushing harder and fighting with everything they had. The clash of advanced technology and fierce determination created a spectacle of destruction and heroism. As the battle reached its climax, General Thompson made a decisive move. He ordered a full-scale counterattack on the Council's flagship, the heart of their fleet. Earth's forces concentrated their firepower on the massive vessel, targeting its vulnerable points. The flagship, once considered invincible, began to falter under the relentless assault. The final moments of the battle were intense. The Council's flagship, heavily damaged and struggling to stay operational, became the focus of Earth's remaining forces. With a final, coordinated push, Earth's military unleashed a massive barrage that finally destroyed the flagship. The explosion was massive, marking a turning point in the battle. With the flagship's destruction, the remaining Council forces began to retreat. The once mighty armada, now battered and broken, pulled back into space. Earth's defenders, exhausted but victorious, watched as the enemy ships disappeared into the void. The final showdown had been fought and won. Earth had survived the Council's last hope and had proven its strength and resilience once again. The galaxy would remember this battle as a turning point, where humanity stood against overwhelming odds and emerged victorious. As the smoke of battle cleared, Earth began to rebuild once more, knowing that the future was uncertain but confident in their ability to face whatever came next. The Galactic Council had learned a valuable lesson: underestimate humanity at your own peril. Peace at last. The battle for Earth had been intense and grueling, but at long last, the tide of conflict began to recede. With the Galactic Council's forces beaten back and their flagship destroyed, Earth faced a new reality, one where the possibility of peace was more than just a distant dream. The cost of victory had been high, but the resolve of humanity had proven stronger than anyone had anticipated. In the aftermath of the decisive battle, Earth's leaders were faced with the monumental task of rebuilding and healing. Cities had been damaged, lives had been lost, and the planet had endured unimaginable hardship. But amid the rubble, there was also a strong sense of hope and determination. The people of Earth had come together, united by their struggle and their triumph. General Thompson, who had been at the forefront of the defense, now shifted his focus to the future. He understood that peace was not simply the absence of war. It required efforts to mend relationships, rebuild trust, and create a lasting resolution. The general and other leaders worked tirelessly to lay the groundwork for a new era of diplomacy and cooperation. The Galactic Council, on the other hand, faced internal strife. The defeat had shaken the confidence of its leaders, and many member races were disillusioned by the failed campaign. The Council's authority was in question, and there were increasing calls for reform and reconciliation. Some leaders began to recognize the futility of further conflict and the need for negotiation. In a surprising turn of events, representatives from the Council reached out to Earth with an offer of peace talks. The message was clear. They were ready to negotiate terms and seek a resolution that could end the hostilities once and for all. The offer was met with cautious optimism by Earth's leaders, who saw it as an opportunity to secure a lasting peace. The peace talks were set to take place on a neutral space station, far from the front lines and away from the political pressures of both Earth and the Council. The location was chosen to provide a secure environment for open discussions and to ensure that both sides could speak freely without fear of interference. General Thompson, along with other key figures from Earth's government and military, traveled to the space station to participate in the negotiations. The delegation was prepared to discuss terms, address grievances, and work towards a solution that would ensure the safety and security of Earth and its allies. The Council's delegation, led by a new Supreme Commander who had been appointed to oversee the peace process, was equally committed to finding a resolution. The initial meetings were tense. Both sides had endured great losses and were wary of each other's intentions. However, as discussions progressed, it became clear that both Earth and the Galactic Council had a shared desire to end the conflict and build a new future. The representatives spoke candidly about their experiences, their fears, and their hopes for peace. The negotiations were challenging, with disagreements and compromises along the way. Key issues included security guarantees, reparations for the damages inflicted, and the establishment of a framework for future cooperation. Both sides had to navigate their own political pressures and address the concerns of their respective populations. As the days passed, the atmosphere in the meeting rooms began to shift. There was a growing sense of mutual respect and understanding. The Council's delegation was impressed by Earth's resilience and resolve, while Earth's representatives recognized the Council's willingness to acknowledge their mistakes and seek a new path forward. After weeks of intense discussions, an agreement was finally reached. The peace treaty outlined a comprehensive plan for de-escalation, including the withdrawal of Council forces from Earth's space and a commitment to non-aggression. The treaty also established mechanisms for regular communication and cooperation between Earth and the Council, aimed at preventing future conflicts and addressing any emerging issues. The signing of the peace treaty was a historic moment. The space station, once a symbol of conflict, now became a symbol of hope and reconciliation. The ceremony was attended by representatives from both Earth and the Council, and it was broadcast to audiences across the galaxy. The message was clear. Despite the hardships and the battles fought, peace had been achieved. Back on Earth, the news of the peace treaty was met with a mixture of relief and celebration. The people were eager to rebuild and move forward, but they also remembered the sacrifices made during the conflict. Memorials were established to honor those who had fought and fallen, and efforts were made to support those who had been affected by the war. The process of recovery began. Cities were rebuilt, damaged infrastructure was repaired, and communities came together to support one another. The spirit of unity that had emerged during the war continued to drive the efforts towards a better future. Earth's leaders, having demonstrated their strength and resolve, now focused on fostering positive relationships with their former adversaries. The Galactic Council, too, faced the challenge of rebuilding trust with its member races and establishing a new direction for its governance. The reforms initiated as a result of the peace talks aimed to address the issues that had led to the conflict and to create a more inclusive and cooperative organization. As the years passed, the memory of the war became a reminder of the costs of conflict and the value of peace. Earth and the Galactic Council worked together to build a new era of cooperation and understanding.